the Shadow Man, will you find your redemption?
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Yo, what's up guys? Today I will list a couple of reasons why I think that Black Ops 3 is one of the best games ever. I recently did a video on Cold War, so if you haven't seen that, make sure to check it out. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing I want to talk about are the maps. Now we started off with Shadows of Evil and the bonus map The Giant, which was basically a remake of Der Riese. Now, I think it goes without saying that Shadows of Evil is a masterpiece, just like every other map in Black Ops 3, I feel like. And they followed up with the Eisendrache, which is to this day one of the best maps and one of my personal favorite maps. Then Zetsubo no Shiba, which at first got a lot of hate, but I think over time it grew on a lot of players. I personally never hated it. I think it was also a masterpiece, just like every other map. Then they followed up with Gorod Krovi, my fucking boy, yo. Gorod Krovi, one of the best maps, hands down. Return to PPSH, everyone was fucking hyped. You know what it is. Then Revelations came around, and the Easter egg ending, I know it was controversial, but all in all, I think it was a pretty fun map. Although, okay, now that I think about it, it was basically just, it wasn't really a new map. It was basically just all of the maps mashed together, but I really had fun playing it. And as if that wasn't enough, they followed it up with Zombie Chronicles, the first Chronicle DLC we ever had. They came out with, I think it was all the World at War maps, Moon, Ascension, Shangri-La. I may have forgotten some. And I think it goes without saying that easily all of these maps are really good. From the graphics to the design to the gameplay aspects to the special weapons and Easter eggs. I think every map is really good. And I also feel like the music in this game is really like the best music they ever like added. Like no matter what map, maybe it's just nostalgia for me and for you guys maybe as well, but I feel like the music just adds like so much more of a cinematic scene to it. And while we're talking about the maps, I want to get into the Easter eggs more specifically. I personally think Black Ops 3 had the best Easter eggs and the best storyline ever. It was the first time we had actual cutscenes, like not the comic type stuff we saw in Black Ops 2. They actually did full-on cutscenes and the storyline. It was the first time I actually got really hooked on the story. Maybe in Black Ops 2 as well, but I feel like Black Ops 3 kind of revived that in a sense, and I feel like a lot of players actually were interested in this story because before you load into a map, you have these really good animated cutscenes. We're not gonna talk about the last gen cutscenes, but you guys know what I mean. And speaking about Easter eggs, the next point is the side Easter eggs. Black Ops 3 has so many side Easter eggs, I can't even count all of them. I'm not speaking about ciphers and story specific stuff. I'm actually talking about like gameplay Easter eggs. You could actually like get more points on Shadows of Evil. You can get a free Gobblegum of Shadows of Evil and the Eisendrache. You can get helmets like the Margot helmet, the Panzer Soldat helmet. Also the masks on Revelations, and also the Spider Bait Easter egg, which was really huge. I feel that added like a little bit more like a spice to it. Like getting set up early or going to high rounds, it changed the way you play the game a little bit. And okay, last thing I'll say regarding the Easter eggs is the EE4C event and stuff like the Z House. That time in the zombies community, it was mayhem. Like you guys I think remember, like all the people who were part of the community, like the zombies YouTubers, all the big ones started collaborating and they did this charity stream and they basically speed run the Easter eggs with like, I don't know how many teams it was basically I think 20 to 30 big zombies YouTubers. I watched the full thing. I was so fucking hyped, and I think that event really proved like what the zombies community can do. And that event, it was really insane. There's nothing else you can say about it, and it was in the Black Ops 3 era. Okay, enough stuff about the Easter eggs. Next I want to touch on the wonder weapons and the special weapons, since we have different wonder weapons and special weapons in each map. So I'm going to start with Shadows of Evil. In Shadows of Evil we had the Apothecant Servant, which you could upgrade in the beginning, but they patched that pretty quick, and the sword, and the upgraded sword. I feel like, I mean, the Apothecant Servant made a return in Revelations. It's the most OP gun ever, there's no arguing about that. And the sword, though, is not the best special weapon, but I think it's definitely one of the coolest. Like the slam kind of move you can do and the little sword that flies around, it's just really cool. Next, they followed up with the Eisendrache, and Eisendrache had the 4 elemental bows, the normal bow, and the Ragnarok GG4s, which were just fucking insane. I mean, just hear the sound of this. And they were definitely nice to use, and the bows were also iconic. And speaking about the bows specifically too, the graphics and the colors of the Eisendrache and the bows is just, it's so insane. As like, I'm a guy, I'm like a freak for LED lights in real life, so maybe that's like an obsession I have with the Eisendrache, but I feel like the colors are just so, I don't know, to bring the map more to life. Next, Setsubo no Shima with the KT4/Masamune. I dig the one weapon. It was alright. It was basically like the Liquid Fire 2.0, everyone called it. And the Skull of Nonsapwe, or Nonsapo, however the fuck you pronounce it, that shit is fucking lit. You can mesmerize fucking zombies, and then you can just you know, like, I don't know, they get in their heads and they make this noise where they screech. And it's all around a really cool weapon. Next was Gold Crovey with the Raygun Mark III, which was not the best wonder weapon, but I think everyone was hyped about it. And the Gauntlet of Siegfried with the punchability and the dragon. That was really cool. It also had the Napalm Strike, or like Dragon Strike, if you want to call it. Oh, and also the Dragon Shield. That shit was lit as fuck. Now, last map was Revelations, excluding the Chronicle maps. The Apothicon Servant made a return, and on Revelations it is actually Pack-a-Punchable. It also had Little Ornies, the Thunder Gun, and I think that was about it. Next thing on this list will be the movement in Black Ops 3. I personally think Black Ops 3 has the best movement just because you can slide without being slowed down. I think Black Ops 3 was the only game to do that. After that, they basically implemented the slide stuff so you can slide for infinite. But I actually like that movement, and it makes you like move more freely, and you can move more in like a skillful way, if that makes sense. So next I want to talk about the Gobblegum system, which is also, I think, one of the more controversial points regarding Black Ops 3 Zombies. Well, in the beginning there were only a couple of ultra rare mega gums like Perkaholic and Killing Time, I think, were the two. Perkaholic was still busted because of microtransactions in itself, but they started adding more and more Gobblegums, which made the game so much more OP than it actually already is. I mean, you have the ammo mods, which basically turn any weapon into a wonder weapon, and as if that wasn't enough, they added all these crazy Gobblegums, which I understand it adds replayability and it adds something to work towards, and I don't really know how to feel about it. I personally, in between. I like the Gobblegums, I like being OP, I think everyone does, but at some point zombies just got too easy, and I think Black Ops 3 is the example of that. People who actually paid for microtransactions were on top of the game. But they added Newton's Cookbook, and Newton's Cookbook is basically added a new currency. I don't even know what it's called, it's Elixir, I think, and you basically can use this elixir and mix two Gobblegums together to create a better one. And this kind of gave everybody the chance, I feel like at least, get more of the good Gobblegums and not relying on the Monty's factory. Because I personally, I never paid anything for Liquid Divinium, and okay, I mean I no-lifed the fuck out of this game. I have like 3,000 hours of game time. This game was real. I haven't seen daylight in weeks, yo. And I stacked up so many Gobblegums, and this brings us to our next point, which is basically Closing App. And Closing App made it that much more busted because you essentially only need like a handful of each Gobblegum, because if you close app or Alt F4 before you down and the game over screen appears, you actually keep your Gobblegums, you keep your progress, which is basically like a win-win situation. So that was pretty busted also, and yeah, just made the game too easy. Another thing I want to touch upon real quick is high rounds in Black Ops 3. I feel like the meta has changed from the past games going to Black Ops 3, because back in the day, training was the overall meta, going for high rounds ultimately. There were some maps you could camp on, like Buried, Origins, Die Rise, But in Black Ops 3, they really took another step with the wonder weapons and made them so much more OP in my opinion. If you think about the Black Ops 3 wonder weapons, you have the Apothicon Servant, you have the bows, you have the KT4, not to mention you have like busted ass special weapons, the Ragnaroks, the Skull, the Sword, the Gauntlet, and on top of that, like I said, you have Gobblegums, which just make it so much more easier. And the thing is, it's really up to you if you think that's better or not. I personally think it made the game more fun because it made high rounds easier for everyone and more people started going to high rounds, I feel like. Now the last point on this list will be custom zombies, everyone. Now I don't have to say much about custom zombies. I did 2 videos, link in the description and on the screen right now. I basically did 2 videos breaking down like 10 of my favorite maps, and these maps are so fucking good. They come close or even surpass Treyarch maps sometimes. Of course not from the graphics and stuff because there's not really a sophisticated studio behind it. It's just people who want to give the community something to play with, and I think mod tools, it was definitely the right move because since World at War it's just been outdated, and I feel like since Custom Zombie dropped, I look at the numbers even today, there's still so many people playing Black Ops 3, and I find myself always going back to Black Ops 3 and just looking through the workshop, just looking for new maps, because just sky's the limit. Like, you can do almost anything. But that wraps up the video. I think Black Ops 3 personally is my favorite game. I finally made a decision. I don't think it's Cold War. I think Black Ops 3 does take the cake. After coming back to it, I just realized it's really like everything they did with every map, it's just perfect. It's really perfect, and the way it played out with the zombies community and the way the zombies community responded to the game, it was just everything was perfect. And I'm sad to say, I think that we won't be getting anything like this ever again. Not just because these times are over, but I think it's like there's like not much you can improve on. It was already top notch. Like, what can you even make better? I think that does wrap up the video, but I wish you a nice rest of your day. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of Black Ops 3. Also, if I forgot anything on this list, make sure to leave them in the comments as well. And I'll see you guys.